how have the couple of days of practice been this week? How have you liked the response from your team and just kind of how they come out in these practices?
We had Monday off. We actually gave them Tuesday off as well, just to get the bodies freshened up. Did some yoga and some weights, and we practiced this morning. And I'm glad we got out there today because it was really cold and windy, and those are the exact conditions we're going to see when we get down to Lawrence there. So, I think they're ready to go. They got after it, so we'll see.
What's the benefit, I guess, is there a benefit outside of just giving their bodies a couple days off of doing those types of things early in the week?
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits. Honestly, like what I kind of use as a coach is if I'm starting to feel tired and fatigued and I'm not doing anything physical, like, mental fatigue, then they definitely are as well. So, like to, still get their bodies moving with some active recovery with yoga and weights and stuff like that. But I think a mental break is really needed as well. And it has nothing to do with our record. This is traditional, this would be how we would handle this part of the season anyway. The games mean a lot, and whether we're in conference or non-conference, it takes a toll. So I think just giving a little extra chance when we can to refresh on the mind, body, and spirit, I think it can only help.
Is being this many games into the grind kind of something that maybe, they've kind of forgotten about a little bit because it's been that they didn't really, I don't think they got to this point last year. So it's almost been 2 full years since they've gotten these many games in.
Yeah, absolutely. I think about, different teams, different scenarios, and even our own, like it has been a long break, and to be in the shape that we need to be in right now is tough when we had the last year off, but it is what it is. Every single person that is competing right now is going through it. So it's not unique, but it's definitely different than a traditional year. With so many different things. You still have COVID, everyone's worrying about that, and the extra precautions that, people have to take with that. And there's, it's a little taxing worrying about when you can see your family and different things. So there's a lot of elements to this that are more than just meets the eye. So then you put on top competitive sports and high level athletics, and it's a lot, but it's a great opportunity for our team and our coaches to practice stuff like this, because that's real life. Not everything is, peaches and cream all the time. We can do hard things, and just kind of remembering and being grateful for the things that we have and taking the time to think about those and focus on those is, sometimes what we need as well.
And then obviously I know you guys are very team focused on what you guys can do, but what challenge does Kansas offer? Obviously the weather is kind of weird up there, but them as a team, what makes them unique?
I think they're scrappy, and I think, their program is on the incline right now, compared to where they have been in the past. They've got a little bit more confidence and belief in themselves than they have in the past. They just came off a nice win yesterday against Mizzou. They play well at home. They're hitting the ball pretty well. So, those are all elements, but that's them, and they're where they're at, and where we are where we're at, and we need to take care of what we can take care of.
After 3, consecutive series losses, what does this team need to do to sort of, rewrite and get back into the win column?
I think the biggest thing we've talked about is we can't think of it that way. I know that's the reality, but we can't think of, if we start thinking of things that way, then everything's just going to be really hard and negative. But there's a lot of positive that has gone on. There's a lot of growth that has gone on, and we have to remind ourselves of those things, and we have to give ourselves credit where credit's due. This is a tough conference, and that is the absolute reality of it. But our record doesn't indicate who we are. So, I don't think it ever does. Even if we're undefeated right now, there's still room to grow and evolve. So I think not focusing on the record and focusing on the things that we can control, focusing on, being present, winning pitches, and the things that we keep talking about. But that is the challenge though. That record lingers, it's kind of over your head, one of those silent things, but it is what it is. We're in a tough conference, and we got to take care of business if we want to see the other side of things.
What are some of those things that you feel like right now needs to improve?
Honestly, I think the biggest thing offensively is we just need to play free. We're putting way too much pressure on ourselves because we know we haven't been scoring the runs that we need to score. And so our offense is a lot more tight than they need to be. It's crazy. If you come and watch us in batting practice, we're a different team than we are in the game. We just have a little bit of performance anxiety right now because they're trying so hard to make it happen. And this is, obviously an unpopular opinion, but what people don't understand is like trying too hard and not trying enough looks exactly the same. So you have to find that medium ground in effort level. And that's like being loose, basically, not silly, but loose. So I think just really freeing our mind up and not trying to be perfect is where our team needs to err on right now.
You guys haven't been on the road too much so far this season, but how have you guys handled, those road trips that you have had?
It's been challenging in that, it's a COVID year. I mean, other than that, it's been fine, but we don't get to do the typical things we would normally get to do in terms of team meals and things like that, where we would really get to spend some quality time together, getting to know each other. And you pair that with our coaching staff coming in so late, that's been one of our biggest challenges. So we're doing the best we can to make the most out of the time we get to spend together. And I'm grateful to go on the road because we get to spend more time together there than we do at home, because it's, kind of check in to practice or meetings or anything like that, and then check out because I got to take care of school and everything else. So grateful to be on the road to spend the time with them, but it's challenging because we don't get to go out to restaurants. We don't get to do those things that we would normally do, but we've just got to figure out how to, and we have been trying to figure out how to make the most of our time together.
You have touched on that before, just the difficulty of it, and obviously you being a new coach here as well. What are some of those ways that you've tried to, do some team bonding and things like that to get, everyone is sort of on the same page?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I think the term team bonding for me doesn't maybe necessarily mean the same thing as it does to other people. Like, I don't want to force activities and say, okay, we're all going to hold hands and tie ourselves in a knot and figure out how to untie it. Like, there's nothing wrong with that by any means, but I really believe in the organicness of relationships. I believe, so I guess when we went to Texas, we went on a hike together, and I wasn't real thrilled about the hike because you can't do a lot of talking when you're huffing and puffing. But after we got to a destination, we were able to kind of just pair up, and I asked them to pair up with someone that they don't normally hang out with. And I said, okay, ask your question that you're asking your person is where you see yourself in 5 years. And that just opened up a whole new conversation. And they've really thought to ask each other. So then we all were able to get together and kind of share what we learned about other people. But I really believe that, any good organization, team culture is, the basis of it is relationships. And I think asking questions and like getting to know people deeper than a surface level is what we need. And that's where we're going to continue going. But we haven't had the time that we want to do that, but that's what we're working on.
I want to go back to something you said earlier. You talked about the mental fatigue. Physical fatigue, somebody might sit out a game, sit out a weekend, that kind of thing, and be kind of recover. But the mental fatigue is a whole different game. Can you tell me from your perspective, as long as you've been a coach, how important is it, and how do you monitor to make sure your players and even yourself and your staff are keeping track on that side of things as well?
Yeah, definitely easier said than done, but you think about our game is the most mentally challenging game that there is. It's the most difficult game in sports. Hitting a fast pitch softball is harder than any other physical activity, especially mentally, but also physically. But the mental fatigue is crazy because we have, all these exterior forces, stresses. There's so many things within our game that we cannot control, and it wears on you because you can't control it, and it drives you crazy because you can't control it. But being able to kind of slow down and remind yourself of the things you can control, like you need that break sometimes, because when you're in it, when you're in the grind, you don't take that time. You're just trying to figure out how to solve whatever issues are in front of you and go, 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 go. And sometimes you just need to stop and relax. And like I said, one of the biggest things for me is just like remembering to be grateful for things, because it's really easy in our profession, really easy in our sport to find everything wrong. We're a game of failure. I talked to one of our hitters the other day, and she's like, oh, I'm going over on my game film and I'm seeing that I'm doing this and this and this. And I'm like, you don't always have to find something wrong, but we think we always have to find something wrong. Sometimes it's just simplifying it taking a breath, giving ourselves a little bit of space and going back and attacking. But it's just crazy. We're just in this spot right now, I think, as a society where if something's not perfect, because we're so used to the instant gratification, that we think we have to find something wrong, and it might not be the case. Sometimes you just need to reset, or sometimes if it's hitting, you just need to remember, oh yeah, I'm supposed to watch the ball. Like that's where my focus needs to be. Hitting starts with perception. So let my focus be perception right now. My mechanics are my mechanics. Like I've put in enough muscle memory to get the job done. But a lot of time they're like, oh, well, I want to fix my swing. I'm like, your swing's not broken. You just got to relax a little and give yourself a little grace in these times, because this is a hard dang game. And we forget that sometimes, especially in this world of instant gratification.
What's your message to your team going into this weekend?
You know, it's the same as it has been. I mean, we need to control what we can control, and that is a struggle. That is a struggle for human beings. And we're asking them to do something that is uncommon and to look at things in a different way than most other people. But if we take care of ourselves and we're not worried about who we're facing, what they're doing, what their jersey says, then we've got a great chance of winning. But I just think with, you know, and this is not unique to Texas Tech, but I think a lot of programs, they're more concerned with the name on the other jersey and what their game plan is, that we forget to prepare ourselves for what we need to do. So that is our focus, is basically, to simplify it more than anything, is just compete, pitch to pitch, compete. Because we find some lulls throughout our games, and we need to get better at that. We need to cut those in half at least.
My last question, how long was that hike that had y'all huffing and puffing?
How long what? I didn't hear it.
How long was the hike that had y'all huffing and puffing?
Oh man, it was too long for me. I thought I said, hey, let's go check out the lake. It looks really nice, calm, relaxing. I'm a very like high intensity person. So like I need some help sometimes calming my butt down. So I'm like, oh, let's go relax. Let's go enjoy some time together at the lake. And then our trainer, she is amazing. She does a tremendous job, but she is one of those go, 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 energy, energy, energy. So she found this walking trail, and I don't even know how long it was, but I brought my daughters with me, and they're huffing and puffing, carrying a 4-year-old. And I'm like, we need to stop somewhere. Like, this is great. This is wonderful, but we are not having a chance to talk together. So how long was it? I don't know. It was too long though.